Chasin the Racin. Powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
And the pressure is on. I am joined with Josh Corner as the co-host this evening, and we are joined by a national treasure. Already get my tongue out my arse, your arse there.
It's very comfortable, thank you.
We are joined, ladies and gentlemen, by Cy King. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, Dom, thanks. I'm good. You well, Josh, as well? Everybody
Absolutely,
good?
Yeah, good. But we're a bit starstruck, aren't we, Dom? We've been waiting, just ready.
I only live down the bottom of the hill. Are you kidding?
Well, honestly, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you've just come to the show, but you are one of the busiest men in the country, period. So when I was on the phone here, you went away for New Year. Where did you get to?
I did. I went over to Sweden, to Copenhagen, and got drunk. Basically, which is what you do this time of year, isn't it? It's like it was a bit of downtime, so I ate loads of food and got drunk.
Good man, good man.
Aquavit, which is if you haven't had it, you should investigate the whole culture of aquavit. Makes you very happy.
I've been to Copenhagen once, but I couldn't got drunk because I could only afford one pint. Because it was about 15 quid.
No, honestly, with how we're having our eyes ripped out in the UK at the minute, honestly, Sweden looks pretty cheap, dude.
Fair enough.
I was like, me, wait, really? Oh, yeah, go on.
So for a man who has the Hairy Biker Show, it's I'll tell you what, I need to get this first question out the way. Is it a travel show mainly, or is it a cookery show? Which category, or is it both?
I think it's good question.
You have to pick one.
I think it's
you have to pick one.
Oh no, I don't. I think it's to be honest, Dom, it's a bit of both. Look, and it depends how we put the show together, because in the foreign shows, what we tend to do when we're abroad is we tend to pick a linear trip from point A to point B, and we ride the miles of those of that point, and then stop off at varying places. It's a bit like hanging your washing up, isn't it? So your washing lines at one end, and then you're on the other, and you're putting your socks at one end and your knickers in the other, and then you get your sheets on and all that sort of stuff. So it's just like that, and so in that sense, it's a travel show. It's about the culture of food, and it's about giving people. Dave and I are just conduits of people's stories, really, because the show is actually not about Dave and I. It's about the people that we meet, because 99.9% of the people that we've met, we've been 4 and a bit times around the world, nearly 5 times around the world now on a motorcycle. It's the people that are the show, really, and the stories that they tell, and giving them the opportunity to tell it in a comfortable way, in a way where they're not intimidated by the film crew and stuff. So we have a very, very gentle approach to doing all of that, because fundamentally, like you guys you want the best out of people, don't you? You don't want them to be shitting their pants. You want them just to have a lovely time and a nice experience and tell their story. And there's certain machismos that we can use to facilitate that. But normally it's just me and Dave will sit and have a crack with them, and it doesn't matter what language it is, because food's a global language anyway. And then and what's great about a common interest and a common cause is that people tend to overcome those barriers of language, and it gets incredibly expressive, and it gets and it's fun. It's fun because neither of us have got a bloody clue what the other one's talking about, and all the nuances and all of that's lost. But actually, what happens is it's kind of distilled into this ball of energy that just comes across on the show, and that's not from Dave and I, that's from our contributors, and the stories that they tell, and the places that they live, and the colours of the environment, and because we're all of this earth, aren't we? Wherever we live, and so is the food. The people in the food are a reflection of the geography in which they live, and because it defines them. Much this, us daft Geordies, we're all the same, aren't we? You know what I mean? Anybody from the northeast. Not that I'm saying that everybody from the northeast is Geordie, but
he is, and I totally agree.
It's just you know that, and that's the crack, because there is a character and personality that you want to portray quite naturally, isn't it? So
I'll tell you what, though, like, you know, when you're talking about like the food like combines everyone. Like me, I only eat food. I can barely cook a pot noodle. You know what I mean? So I'm over the moon. Josh can actually cook. You know, the pressure is on now, Josh.
No, so
he can cook.
You can decide this, but I've cooked a meal for Dom, and it wasn't anything exciting.
Tell him what it was.
What'd you cook?
Either I can cook or he just is really shit.
Well, there's two.
Really?
There's two. Yeah, you know, you can say, when you get to my age, you can have a look in people's eyes, and there's only two types of people on the planet. There's people that live to eat, and people that eat to live. And Dom definitely falls into the they're just eating to live category. So whatever you give him, he's going to be happy, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know me so well, and we've only met for 10 minutes. I'm telling you that. No, but hold on. Tell him what you cooked.
We had just venison and mashed potato, but I'd never cooked venison before.
What bit of venison do you have? The haunch or the loin?
I bought it from the co-op. It was some
venison loin.
Yeah, some.
Yeah, it'll not be a haunch.
It was.
What's the kind of?
I've tried it before. But never cooked it before.
So how did you cook it?
Just
in a pan.
This is what I was hoping for. This precious situation.
I just cooked it how you would cook a steak. I like steaks,
yeah, good.
so I would just cook it the same as that. Well
done. How long for?
Well, my way. I like it
this.
like medium, so I just did it like red hot at first.
Loads
of butter, and then just turned it down until it's like.
Yeah.
Not too hard.
There's like a left bum cheek.
Yeah.
Slightly giving.
I don't know. I don't know
It's like one of your books, by any chance.
I don't know all the.
Probably is actually. Yeah.
I don't know all the terms and stuff. Like, people, do you know when you talk about? And obviously, we're talking to someone who can actually cook, yeah. But when you talk about cooking, you get like, it's like when people talk about wine. I love wine, but I don't know fuck all about wine. I just know what I like, and I enjoy cooking, but I don't really know anything about cooking. I just mess about with it.
Yeah, well, that's great because it's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And the thing is about, you know, there is this complete nonsense around the snobbery in the UK, because we are kind of snobby and kind of conservative with a small c. and the whole thing is like we in the industry we call them the ABCs, right? And normally you'll find them with people that this is going to go down really well. So they'll go, yes, I'll have anything but Chardonnay. And Chardonnay is one of the greatest grapes in the world. I mean, it's amazing. And then they'll order
that's wine dominant.
And then that's wine dominant.
I've seen it on a rack shelf before. You know what I mean?
So, and then what I'll do is they'll order a Chablis. They'll go, I'll have a Chablis. And you go, oh. But I thought you didn't want to have a Chardonnay. Then I go, well, it's not, it's a Chablis. I said, no, it's a Chardonnay. It's a Chardonnay grape.
Same grape.
It's the same grape, you knacker. Do you know what I mean? So then what happens is that they'll go, oh, and there's this mad kind of snobbery around wine in the UK. I mean, it's got a little better. But the thing is, whatever your palate personally likes, that's a good wine.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's, you know, and then there's like nuances of like natural wines and all that sort of stuff. But fundamentally, it's about what you like. And if you like it, you like it. I might not like it, but it doesn't mean to say I know better than you. It's just that your gob likes that wine and mine doesn't.
Yeah.
How simple is that? But no, not in the UK. What we do in the UK, we go, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Is it? Well,
exactly.
You know. So anyway, that's just that's just my take on it all.
I like it. I was actually going to leave this question to like later on, but it's a perfect time to ask. You know, when you're talking about posh gits, essentially, you know, with like too much of opinions. Being, you know, the hairy bikers, you know, is the motorcycle element ever like put a persona in their minds and they've gone, oh God, he's just a motorcycle rider? You know, has that ever been a hindrance for you?
No, not at all. I think in the beginning, look, you see with the bikers, it's what Dave and I did. It was what we did as mates.
Yeah.
You know, we rode motorcycles, ate a lot and got drunk. And I mean, it didn't matter where we were. It was just that's what we did. And just as mates, you know, that was the gig really. And then we got bored with our day jobs and thought, well, you know, this might be should we try and put this to some lunatic that's going to give us a job? And they did. So thank God. So because God knows what I'd be doing now. I'd be a bricklayer or something, I should think. But
is that what you used to do? Sorry for interrupting. Is that what you used to do? A bricklayer?
I used to dig the roads because. So what I used to do, I was a first assistant director and locations manager in the film industry, and Dave was a makeup artist in the film industry.
Dave was a makeup
artist, but with prosthetics. So when you saw limbs flying across the screen in a war film and something, that was mostly Dave, and he was incredibly talented at it.
It was a hell of a shot.
And he didn't throw it, you knacker. He just made the leg. Oh God, do you know what I mean? It's going to be a long night, this, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
And that's tonight's show. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for joining us. I've got a curry to make here. And so that's what Dave, because he had Dave has a degree in fine art, from some really prestigious university whose name I forget. You'll kill me. How did you forget that? Well, I'm not doing a story. He tells me it a lot as well. Anyway,
and it's really sunk in.
There's not a lot. You get to over 50 and you just start to forget shit constantly.
Don't use that excuse. Look, he's literally going, how do I get out of this? Oh yeah, let's just slap the 50 card in there.
Just straight in. Yeah, you know me so well. We've only met. And so not really. I think that what look, the wonder of motorcycling is that you're engaged in the environment. You're part of the journey. It's not about being stuck in a box on four wheels. You're part of that environment, and you're part of the changes of the environment, and you're part of the culture that you're seeing around you. And there is a vulnerability when you're on a motorcycle that is a great leveler. Mm-hmm. So every motorcycist I've ever spoken to around the world, we always have the same conversations, because because you're doing. There's a code to it, isn't there?
100%.
There's just a code to it, and it's not even spoken. It's kind of unspoken.
When you experience it, I remember the first tour that I ever went on, which is another funny story, but I will leave that for now. But we're in Ireland. We're doing the Wild Atlantic Way.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
And I just remember going to it was in Kenmare or something. This beautiful place, and we went to this gorgeous sort of bed and breakfast place, and it was just as the restrictions of the first lockdown. So I don't even think we were meant to be there, but we'd got there, and there was an appreciation from the people that you'd came on a motorbike. If you came up in a car, you wouldn't have. I can't explain it, but you wouldn't have got that reception. And when we stopped in petrol stations or in towns for coffee, and people would stop and talk to you, they were generally interested. And when you see other bikers, they want to talk. And I was on a Honda Grom when I did this trip, because I didn't have a license, but I was going. So I bought one just to go on this trip, and did its first service in a car park on the way. But it was amazing.
He's a qualified mechanic, by the way. I must tidy that up.
I'm not
as well.
a qualified mechanic. Don't say that.
He works for Mart. Anyway, that's a different story. Anyway,
but it was, I can't explain to you just the response we got from people. So I totally get what you're saying. And it's this unspoken language of, you've made some serious effort to come here on this thing.
Well, on this Honda Grom. Yeah. Well, and I think that's it, isn't it? That's the whole gig, really. It is that. We for instance, we had an instance. We were in a place called Swakopmund, which is in.
You've made that up.
No, it is.
Someone get a phone out and Google that. He's making this up now.
So Swakopmund is this place in Namibia, right? And it's kind of the second city, and all of the streets are named so you'll have Kaiser Wilhelm Platz and all that sort of stuff. Well, because of the German influence in the history and all of that. So So we
Sorry, I just want to go Faulty Towers. Don't mention the war.
don't mention the war. Well, yeah. Well, the British only give Walvish Bay back in about 1968 or something. Going, I think it's all over now, isn't it? Yeah, you can have it back, lads.
Down arms.
It's all right, lads. It's all right. It's all right. You know, stop. It's all right, lads. Time out. Be all right. Just like, chill your boots here for a bit, lads. We're all right. So anyway, I'm sure there was more. There was more consultation than that, but that's how I took it. And anyway, we're in Schwagan, and we had these, and we were going across the Namibian desert on two 1200 cc GSs, which were completely the wrong motorcycle. And with completely the wrong tyres, doing completely the wrong job. And there was me and Dave on them, which was not the most skilled riders off-road that you've come. I've never fallen off a motorcycle so much in my life. Anyway, however, so we gets to this thing called called Shebeens, which is like where all the locals go for a drink and a bit on, you know, all the indigenous peoples anyway. And the kids were like, whoa, what's these? So we were ragging these two BMWs up and down the dirt streets of the kind of township, ragging them up and down with all these kids hanging off the back. I mean, if the BBC ever found out, I mean, that would have been it. We would have had a very short career.
Well, just add, this is theoretical. This is
just
theory. He did this.
In theory, we did this. There is no evidence, and it's 20 years ago. So if they haven't got us by now, they're not. So and the kids were absolutely loving it, and the mums and dads were coming out of the houses and stuff, and me and Dave are like, why? Oh, but you know, and giving it rock all, and then the kids we just let them sit on them and rev them and all that. I mean, there was reasons behind that we probably best not go into, but it wasn't BMW's finest hour anyway. So so we did all that, and then and what was great was the welcome and the understanding of what we were trying to do there, because we had the opportunity to chat to some of the elders and all of that. It was absolutely fantastic, and again, they were mostly appreciative of what we were trying, you know, what we were going to do. We were going to go up to Purosh near the Angolan border and look for the Himba and the Damara and all of those kind of nomadic tribes. And I remember the BBC saying, well, chaps, if you don't mind, I don't know why I put this accent on every time I talk about the BBC.
It's 100% BBC. We're involved in this now because you're doing that accent.
So,
it's like...
chaps, try not to forget that we need a lot of interaction with the local people. So we're like, okay. Well, we got 2 weeks into film and we'd not seen anybody. There was literally me, Dave, and the crew. I was thinking, shit. I said, yeah. Did anybody tell the BBC that, like, the Himba are a nomadic tribe of herdsmen? And we were like, and I said, like, Namibia is a big place. And I said, I have not seen anybody for the next 2 weeks. So we just kept asking, like, these odd miners that you'd find coming out of a hole who were digging for precious stones and gems and all that sort of stuff. And they'd go, and I'd go, yeah, you haven't seen anybody else, have you? And he'd go, no. So how long have you been here? Through an interpreter. He went 3 weeks. He says, I have 3 weeks on and then 3 weeks off. And I went, oh.
See no one.
Absolutely no one. And where we camp, the guide goes, you're 175 miles away from anybody.
Wow.
And the silence of that was amazing.
So that's here to Leicester.
Yeah.
Before you see a person.
Like, nobody there. Oh, honestly, it was epic. You heard rhino, you heard the desert foxes, you heard rhinoceros, you heard kudu, you heard giraffe, you heard all that. Not a soul.
I'd I know this sounds totally weird, but I would love to interview that rhino now. What was your first experience of a BMW flying past you?
Well, one of them shit themselves, and what's great about it is
don't
you've
say
got
stuff
to
about
be.
animals. Give bikers a bad name when he says you scared an animal.
No, you never scared an animal. You just what used to happen was that you would always have to be very careful. So if you got off the bike for a wee, for instance,
You'd have to be aware.
you have to be very well aware not to pee on a midden or anything like that, because rhinos, and there was a whole skill set that we had to learn to go through there, because the ecology there is very delicate. So if you'd weed on a rhino midden, the rhino wouldn't come back to there to do its business. So you had to be aware.
It's all that Chardonnay, you see.
It's all the bloody Chardonnay. You know what, them rhinos, you kind of get them out of the bar, close to all, they're all there, giving it what up for, being Billy Big Bollocks, and all they what, and then, you know. So you had to go, is it all right? I mean, like literally 175 mile away from anybody, you'll go, excuse me, is it all right to wee here? And then go, hold on a minute. Yeah, it's fine. And then when you find rhino poo, it smells amazing. I mean, you got to open it up and there's a few spiders, but it smells amazing because they eat myrrh. You know the myrrh bush?
Wow.
You know, frankincense, incense, cool. No, Don doesn't know that.
Oh, no, a bit of a Bible bashing. Oh, yeah, that little bit, yeah.
You know the God botherer thing. It's like you open this and you smell it, and it smells of myrrh. It's the most remarkable smell. If you could bottle it and be a fortune on you know, dabbing yourself with it.
Isn't that the most expensive perfume in the world? It's like something to do with a whale.
No idea.
Nuts.
I'd rather have the whale than somebody smelling of it. You know what I mean? I like whales. They're great. They're big fish that should be in the sea, and we should stop killing them. But that's another story.
I mean, there's loads of things I want to ask you, but I guess starting at the, I was going to come back a little bit. So you touched upon the fact that he's worked within the film industry, and one of the things that I never knew until doing some research for this was that you were the location manager or assistant director for Philosopher's Stone.
I was the assistant locations manager for the Philosopher's Stone, and then one of the location managers for the Chamber of Secrets. Yeah,
that explains why it was an annex. It's just up the road.
It was an annex. Say no, Dom. It was an annex. Durham. It was like
he was in the pub down the road and just zoomed out and went, that looks. I'll
make it look like I've looked for it loads.
P1 bound.
That looks alright. That looks old. We'll have that.
Yeah.
No, it was slightly more complicated than that, as you can imagine. But yeah, I was. Yeah.
And I mean, just to be part of. I mean, I'm a massive Harry Potter fan.
I'm learning more about you every second here.
You can't if you appreciate movies at all. You can't not be a Harry Potter fan.
There were amazing things to work on, and a huge amount. What goes in front of the camera is one thing, but what I was really privileged with working with was I had the senior location manager was a guy called Nick Dalbany, and his kind of right hand man was a guy called Mark Sumner, and just the most incredibly talented individuals. They were remarkable men, really. And every time I ring Mark up, and I think it's a blag because he didn't want to talk to us anymore, but I think he just goes, I'll call you back, mate, I'm just getting into a chopper. And you go,
bastard.
Are you still doing it? Are you still doing it? Are you? You're still looking for locations? He's hilarious. But yeah, I mean that was the. I mean, look, it was a privilege to work on the films, but that was great.
Yeah.
The people were amazing.
What? How did you get into that industry? What was it like? Your mother, father's route, was that like?
No. It was the story was that I'm full of bullshit and bollocks, and I blacked.
No wonder you work well here.
You'll fit in well.
Ladies and gentlemen, our extra co-host.
I was a musician, and I was starting a family, and the reality was I was 21, 22, so I had to get my act together, really. So I got an opportunity from a friend through my sister of driving a minibus for a student film that was out of Pilo, which was a training facility for called Northeast Media Training Centre, and I drove this minibus, and then at NEMTC there was this notice board, and I saw this job because I thought, right, well, after this is done, I'm getting paid like 25 quid a day, which was great. so I thought, right, and I saw this thing. The BBC wanted crew for this new children's drama series, and it was the pilot. It was the very first one. And so I went to see a guy called Matthew Robinson, who had started, who was kind of a big name then. He'd started EastEnders, and he was a big hitter. And Tom Robinson, 2468 Motorway, his brother. Anyway, cut a long story short, he gave me the job, and that was the first job I did, and that was the pilot of Biker Grove.
I knew you were going to say Biker Grove. I was going to say, do you want to guess what it is? But I thought I might sound like a cock if I get that wrong.
No, it's great. And it was, so I did that, and then I did the first 3, and then he said, what job did you do? After we'd done the pilot, he said, whose job do you want? And I said,
whose job do you want? Now there's a compliment.
And so I just pointed at this bloke, not really knowing, and this bloke was called Paul Paxton, who was in AFM. FM, a floor manager, kind of like first assistant director, kind of who scheduled the show and all that sort of stuff. And I really didn't. I mean, I had some idea about what he did, but it was complicated. So I did that I did Biker Grove for years, and then went off and did some other stuff, and then came back, and then went off again, and the Potters came on and filmed big films, and it was good.
I must ask, have you worked with Ant and Deck? Because there's hairy bikers, Ant and Deck, the North East.
Is he fucking real or what?
What?
Biker Grove. That is Ant and Deck, you ball bag.
Wait, has he worked with Ant and Deck?
Well, yes.
Yeah. I don't know how many series. How old? I'm not old enough to watch Biker Grove.
I used to.
Let's take a chill pill.
You ball bag.
He really knows me.
I'm only joshing with you.
Yeah.
Go back to your shit medicine. Go back to your shit medicine.
I was worried about saying it, so I didn't sound like a cock, but you just did it for us.
Straight in. You're a ball bag. Right, anyway. So what would I like to work with?
Oh, look, they're good lads. They're good lads. And we
They'd be young lads then,
interested, very, very young. I used to pick them up in a car, because I was a runner right at the very beginning. Right. So I used to pick them up in a red Ford Sierra and bring them to the set.
Right.
Bring them to, they're good lads, and they still remain good lads. They're nice people.
I'm going to ask the cheesiest question going. Did you ever see them being more, at that point, more than what they've become, if you know what I mean?
Look, it was very clear that they were talented lads.
Aye.
It was very clear, and also that they just loved it, and they understood what it was that they wanted to do. And I think, and yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear from early on that they were going to be a double act. That's for sure.
So,
do you think the area has any? It sounds stupid, but I was thinking about this on the way up here. We've actually got some like big stars from the area, not just like singers and that, but like Charlie Human. I don't know how you say his surname, but he's
real famous.
Yeah, but like Sons of Anarchy and
he was from Gateshead, wasn't he?
Yeah. Do you know there's a really interesting? We're going off topic here, but a story of how he got. Become an actor is so funny. So basically, he was pissed on Christmas Eve, and he was in the JD Sports on Northumberland Street, like doing his Christmas shopping. Basically, pissed, been to the pub all day, like proper lad, early 20s or maybe even younger than that, 19 or something, and he was prancing around the JD Sports just like a legend with trying trainers on, and a woman from. Was he on Biker Grove as well? Have I got that right? Or is this some...
Don't know.
Anyway, a local woman, someone who was within acting, like a recruiter or something, seen him and literally said, like, "You're mint, like, do you want a job?" And he just had the charisma or whatever it was.
I really hope all our listeners start hanging around like Sports Direct from now on.
We're going to see all aspiring actors and actresses to be prancing
You never know who's in buying trainers.
Yeah, but that's a mad story, and he's been in some amazing movies like The Gentleman, and that's a fantastic movie. If
That's a great movie. Yeah.
And I suppose we have got some big names in the North East, haven't we? People who have come out and.
Well, yeah.
Oh no, without a doubt.
But
how? So you've gone from a floor manager element, and then so how? What's the next part of that story then? Is it
survival? That's what it is, honestly, because it's freelance. So what you do is you never had a monthly wage, so you were only ever as good as your last job. So you had to build
Sounds
a reputation.
Sounds like bloody bike racing.
Well, yeah, no, it's exactly that. It's as competitive as that. It's anything that you have to give your all to is that. It's exactly that.
Call it a cutthroat world, would you say?
Oh no, God, yeah, very, very, very. Look, everything is performance driven. Everything in the television industry, in the film industry, the bikers is performance driven. If we don't deliver audiences to the BBC for whatever reason, either there's no subtitles to say, "Oh, me and Dave are not on great form at the minute." You've got to do it. Whether you're going through a divorce, or there's illness in the family, or there's whatever. You just got to do it. So in that sense, it's pretty brutal. But in terms of in other things, it's amazing. We get some amazing opportunities and experiences. Yeah.
And sorry, go on.
No, crack.
I wanted to
go with the flow, mate.
Sorry,
go with it.
Obviously, you touched a little bit earlier on. Obviously, the Harry Potter stuff. I was desperate to ask about that, but from the show perspective, you sort of asked this question before. But do you think it, from a viewer's point of view, do you think it's a biker's view in it, or cook like aspiring chefs, or is it a mix? Like
it's a massive mix, Dom. It's a massive mix because obviously the BBC have a huge research, a huge resource to research what the viewers do. And Dave and I've been doing it so long now that we live, breathe, and eat it. So it's kind of it's both. We get the amount of times I've been stopped by bikers going, "Oh, we've just done the route from we've just come through the Glasnock, passing down into Italy and that's a mad road, isn't it?" And and all that. So and you're now getting that kind of that sort of travel tourism that Dave and I have done. So it's a really eclectic mix, but by the same token, we've got chefs who go, you were an inspiration to us when I was training, and and now at the top of their trade, and it's so it's all of that really. So it's a very eclectic mix, and then conversely, you have 90-year-olds going, I remember that soup from when I was little, or 9-year-olds coming up to you in the street going, "Well, love you, I think you're great. And I've just made us me first spaghetti bolognese, and my mum says it was smashing."
That was me last week.
Oh, that was you last week, actually, Dom.
Oh,
did he? Hey, man, it was epic. He was round my house. Yeah. Had to deep clean the kitchen.
That's it. Bleach everything. Bleach it all there.
Including Dom.
That'll
stand there and wash yourself down this minute.
That can be my next meal, Dom.
100%.
Next time Lauren kicks you out and I've got to cook for you.
That's the one. I know, I'd be a lot thinner if it wasn't for Lauren. But anyway, that's a different subject. So when did Dave enter your life then?
So Dave and I met on a Catherine Cookson drama in Newcastle, and it was called The Gambling Man. The Gambling Man, and with Robson Green, and
another northern superstar.
Northern superstar.
He sounds more southern, but
because he's gone a bit posh, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean?
He's been fishing for too long. That's why
he's not. Do you know what it is? He's not posh at all. Actually, that's a real disservice. He's quite a good mate of mine, and he's and Dave's, and he's sound, man. He's sound. He's a good lad, Robbo. He is.
Keen biker at all? Have I made that up?
Oh,
I think he is actually. Yeah, I think he is.
Should have heard that through.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah. I don't definitively know that, but I just spent some time with him the other day as well. Actually, I should have. I don't think I was kind of busy, so we didn't really get on. Yeah. What do you do in your private time?
I can't sort of, every time I watch them. Remember the film the series in South Shields called Wire in, well, it wasn't in South Shields, part of it was in South Shields, Wire in the Blood. And
that was a police programme, wasn't it?
The whole town, it was in like this nightclub that we used to go to, when I would have first gone, I would have gone to this nightclub, and it was filmed in that nightclub, and it was like, we were queuing outside, there was burger vans outside and everything. It was great just to like watch what was going on. And but I can't, whenever I think of him or see him on the TV, I can't think of him as anything other than Tucker in the Soldier. My dad's a massive, he's like in the army and stuff, and as a really young child, remember him watching it, and we've still got the box set on DVD. We don't have a DVD player anymore, so we can't watch it, but we sort of sit and watch it back to back, and I can't see even anything else other than that.
It's hard, isn't it, to get over those characters, isn't it? Well, that means he was very good at what he did.
Oh, absolutely, funny.
So that's how we met, and then Dave always recounts the story as I sold him a very dodgy CB 750 K2, and which, to be fair to him, was proper dodgy, but it was shiny, and I thought I'd never see him again. So there you go. So I flogged him this bike, and he goes, "King, you can come up and pick this," because he lived in Huntley in Aberdeenshire at the time. He says, "You can come pick this bike up. It's proper shit." I goes, "Oh, what's happened like?" He goes, "Well, it's broken down." I goes, "It couldn't have broke down. It's the way you're riding it." He's going, "It's not the way I'm riding it. It's stopped. Come and get this heap of shit back and give us me money back." So anyway,
and you two were like on a friendship working capacity at this point, or
yeah, no, we were kind of quite good mates by then, because it was very clear that Dave, and I mean, he used to come around because the Cooksons used to last a long time. We used to shoot 3 programs, three series in a year, and it was great work for me, because it meant that I wasn't as transient. Although the hours were ridiculously long, I wasn't as transient because I was bringing a family up. So it enabled me to stay. It was my bread and butter. It enabled me to stay in the northeast, and it was grand. So and then Dave used to come round to the house for Sunday lunch and just be part of the family and hang out and all that sort of stuff. So by then we were quite good mates.
I was about to say, because normally you just hang up on them, wouldn't you? You sort of shit bike, like, piss off, you sold a scene, move on. I was about to say, there's no way you'd go pick the bike up. Did you go pick it up?
Yeah, I did. I went and picked it up and gave him 500 quid back. He paid £1,000 for it, but I said, look, I've had to buy the Bairns shoes and that, like. So,
The Bairns shoes.
So it's like, Kingy man, how
for everybody listening, the Bairns means children, because no one outside of the north knows that, by the way.
So that's it. Everybody in Scotland will know.
Yes,
Bairns is a thing in Scotland.
It Wayne's in Scotland as well, in certain parts of Scotland. Wayne's.
Yeah. I don't know what Wayne's.
Wayne's and Bairns. Have you watched a show called
No.
Still Game?
No.
You must have watched Still Game.
No.
Oh,
you're trying to convince him at one point that you have watched it. You have watched it.
Is it hilarious?
It's funny. It's great.
Oh, good.
That council estate in Glasgow is fucking hilarious.
Oh, right. I've got it. I'll have to watch that, like, because I love stuff like that. So that's how we met, and we've been firm mates ever since. And we met in a pub called the Egypt Cottage, and we both had a curry, several beers, got the work done in about 45 minutes flat, because Dave wasn't, and I mean, if he chose to do it ever again, which he wouldn't, he was incredibly good at what he did, and he went, 45 minutes for anybody with a wig, and it was just like boom, and it was like, oh, I love this guy. He's going to make my life this is great. Because with a period drama, you have to time everybody in and out of makeup and costume, and then so they're ready for set. So you have the on-call time from the first, and then the on-set time from the first, and you work back from that. So they make sure you keep it on schedule and all that sort of stuff. So. And that was it, and we just found that we had an absolute love and passion for travelling motorcycles, so that's what we did. Any available opportunity. I mean, it was slightly more difficult for me because I had a family, but and Dave at the time was just divorced, so he had more cash and better motorcycles than me. So I just carried more time, maybe. I just carried more spanners. So it was good. So that's how it was. That was it. That was the start.
So you started like working together, but at what point and who came up with the idea of going, right, so this is what we're going to do. We're two hairy lads. We both love motorcycles, and we're going to, let's make a program. How does that just suddenly go from? How did it happen? How did that concept?
So I just finished the Chamber of Secrets, and I just thought I knew, and then 9/11.
I'm never going to get used to that. I'm just not going to get used to that.
Yeah, it was all a bit of an odd time. So I sat down and knocked a few ideas around, and I wrote this email to Dave and just said, listen, what do you think of that? What do you think of the idea? And then Dave, who was in Canada with Christopher Lambert, he was Chris's private makeup artist, and he came back, and him and I were just knocking emails backwards and forwards, just honing the idea. So the idea was motivated really by our friendship, and we just fundamentally got bored with the day jobs. We just kind of, hold on, I've never had a pay rise in 15 years. I'm knackered. I'm getting slightly older. I'm working 16, 17 hour days for 6 months at a time, and I don't think this is sustainable. And and Dave was at the top of his trade, and he was just it wasn't great. So we thought, right, we'll try and take that sort of destiny in our own hands, really, and came up with the idea, got the idea off. Took us 3 years to get it off.
I was about to say that just doesn't walk in with a bit of blackmail material and going, right, this is what I want.
Why did it take? Why 3 years? Just to get someone to sign off on it, buy into it?
It was just about. So what happens is that the BBC or any commissioning body, whether it be ITV, whether it be Apple, they'll have seasons, and they'll understand what they want to do and how they want to do it. So that was the idea. So and that's why it took us 3 years, because you just need somebody to believe in the idea, and that takes time. It doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah. So, and fortunately, there was a controller at the time at the BBC called Rolly Keating, and we had Dave and I both worked with this particular director called John Stroud, who was very talented, run the rows of Montrose and for comedy and all that sort of stuff, and then. And then that was that, really. We got a guy called Vikram Jayanti who did When We Were Kings, and documentary filmmaker, because actually what we were asking, and what we still do, which is why we're very loyal to the crews that we have, we're asking directors to do and production companies to cover a lot of bases. So if you think about it, they've got to be able to shoot food, they've got to be able to shoot food anthropology, they've got to be able to shoot landscapes, they've got to be able to be documentary filmmakers, they've got to have comedy timing, they've got to be able to shoot motorcycles, they've got to be able to shoot the movement of them. So it's like there's a lot of disciplines that the bikers have that we insist upon, that is of the highest quality we can get. And it took us 10 years probably to hone the crew and the director to bring their skills and talent and have that creative shorthand, as I'm sure you guys have with your sponsors and racing and all of that. You have that creative, albeit that on the day all of that communication and language and knowledge and understanding of each other comes together, and you put it on the track, much the same as we do when we're making a program. So that's how it. How it worked. Sorry,
I've got you just struck us with another 1,000 questions. And when you're doing so if you're shooting a series, obviously. Lots of people have asked me this to ask you. You do the rides. You don't van the bikes. Obviously, I appreciate there'll be certain times of logistics in certain countries, but
certain logistics in countries we do, but that's we try and avoid that where possible, because fundamentally Dave and I are motorcyclists, and we like being in the saddle. So so no, normally we'll do, it varies depending on the subject matter, but anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 miles per series. So there's a lot of saddle time.
Excellent. And when it comes to the food element of that, is that he's on sort of like panniard up to the hilt with all the gear? Is that like transported separately, or like how do you?
Yeah, that is transported separately. You just it's a.
He's on cooking the barbecue at a campsite. Like, you're doing the proper job, like so.
Well, we used to do that. We used to do that. I remember this lady writing in going, "I say those hairy bagger fellows are dirty." You're like, well, wash your hands, missus, and that.
You should meet us off there, pet.
We're like, we're cooking in a ditch in like Namibia, or we're cooking in a ditch in like Patagonia in the middle of Argentina. It's not what we're actually saying, missus. You're slightly missing the point. Is what we're trying to say to you is, if we can do it,
you can
in a ditch in the middle of nowhere. Then you can do it in your fitted kitchen at home. What we're trying to do is get you into the kitchen and to explore the global food that we have. And if us two daft beggars can do it, then so can you. And it was kind of that, not to sound too wank about it, but it was that kind of empowerment thing about saying to people, look, there's a skill set here that we're going to start to lose if we don't, and then you just become then you just become fodder. You know, let's have that knowledge and have that skill set, because it's important, and it's important to pass on intergenerationally as well. So if we can do it in a ditch, and actually, madam, contrary to popular belief, we do wash our hands, and you know, so it's all of that really.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the best way to format this question, but you know, like you're saying, like people like ring up and go, "Oh, you're not washing your hands," and you know that troll element. You know, has that ever sickened you on both sides? You know, because you do this for a career, is it almost knocked the passion on a little bit of the head? You know what I mean? Like doing all the riding, and then same with the cooking. You know, for example, a bricklayer doesn't go home and suddenly start building a wall in his back garden. This is your career. Is it ever people slagging that your work off? It's very very small amount of people, but is that ever sickened you?
No, because I think that fundamentally there's a bit of a lack of understanding sometimes, and if you decide, and it's up to you to decide, you can either add fuel to the fire or you don't, and most of the time that we'll explain it in a very gentle way. Like, so for instance, we've had a couple of, with a series that's out at the minute, there's been a couple of comments about, you know, having subject matter that costs a lot of money. But the point that was shot 18 months ago. So the thing is that just because it's on the telly now doesn't mean to say that it's actually current and reflective of a very different country that we live in now than it was 18 months ago even. So, and that's fair enough, because people don't understand the nuances, and why should they, of scheduling and television programs and all that sort of stuff. So we choose to just do it in a very gentle way and just go, look, yeah, we'll get what you're saying, and yeah, you know, maybe that was a slip, but on this occasion, it's, you know, I think if you just do, if you're strategic in the way that you open the dialogue, then it's fine. So in answer to your question, a straight answer to your question is no, it never pisses me off, because most of the time I never read it. And second of all, because there's no, you know, you could absolutely dwell in that negativity, and because there's always somebody out wanting to have a pop.
Aye.
And that's fine. Whatever gets them through the night. I'm kind of pretty tolerant with all that, really. It's whatever gets you through the night, dude. You know, it's not my way, but if it's yours, it's yours. And like, but I don't have to take it on, and I don't.
Yeah.
And neither does Dave.
It's great that, because I think exactly what you're saying. You can get stuck into that negativity and really drill into it, but also can take away from this unique thing that you've got, because openly admitting, I'd never really watched the shows earlier on, because I was just too young. I just wasn't interested in.
Well, no. Well, why would you?
You know, I would watch it with me granny, like.
Yeah, maybe. Fair enough. Yeah.
But then, as I've stopped racing and started touring myself, and then moved out and inevitably had to learn how to cook, but I've gone back and, like, you know, you go back through and you watch like all the Long Way Round and Down and all that stuff, and then you watch the Hairy Biker stuff and all the way through, and I've really enjoyed that. And one of the things that really sticks out is there isn't anything else that's the same. So you've got not only just the cooking element, the biking element, so you've got those two groups, the history. I really enjoy the history.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? Because the thing is that nothing, what we forget about in the modern world, which is incredibly important to not forget about, is that nothing happens in isolation.
No.
We are the product of our ancestors, you know, and it's not about being a wanker. It's just, that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, we're their product. And if, so history defines who we are. And you know, there's a lot of bullshit and nonsense about history that, you know, for various different reasons and various people's other agendas, but the actual history, of the true history, is always fascinating, and it's always very easy to track true history through food, because that doesn't change. So what happens is that then we're able to kind of look at the you know, the social happenings around food. Look at the culture around food. Look at the expression. Yeah, it is, and it's because it's important, because that's what defines the food. So we're able to tell that story through food, which is what. Oh, and that doesn't change.
Yeah.
So whatever the political agendas are, and whatever, the actual true seam of history, you can track it through food, and that's pretty important.
Sorry, Dom, go on.
No, crack on.
No, just to say that we just watched one of my favourite episodes on the show. One of the favourite things I watched was that you did a fowl episode and not about all the game birds and stuff like that. And that was really good. And I sat and thought, you not that you wouldn't do it now, but I think people would react massively differently to that. That was a few years ago now, wasn't it?
Sure, yeah.
They would react so
long
differently to it now.
17,
Almost
18 years ago.
Yeah, almost view it in a I think society's changed a little bit, and I'm probably going to get shit for this, but like people would look at that and go, "Oh, you only eat pheasant if you're posh," you know.
Well, I think that's the sad thing, because if you can track the history of oysters, okay, oysters now are incredibly expensive, but you know, oysters and Guinness were poor people's foods in London, which you have all the oyster beds and
a pint of Guinness. Don't even get a start on that, Jesus.
You know, so there you go. You know, that was, you know, oysters were, and I mean, they used to use them to cover the smell of brothels. They used to use them to do, you know, ground up oyster shells was, you know, used to do all that. So all of that history is true social history that you can track through the nuances of society through food.
Yeah.
Amazing. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Every time you kind of dig into it, you just go, what?
Yeah.
That's absolutely fascinating, because we're not indivisible. The human race kind of, and motorcyclists particularly, this is that code that we were talking about. We understand that, yeah, we ride two wheels, but we're part of an environment, and we're not ever too far away from the earth that we come from.
Yeah.
So there's that connection that I think is for the bikers. It's just, you know, nice to look at bikes going through nice scenery.
Yeah.
And what route are the lads done? Isn't the food interesting? And we can eat. But what biker do you know of that doesn't love a bacon sandwich when you're freezing your knackers off in November? Do you know what I mean? I'm gone for a cup of tea and a bacon sandwich. Gan on. Do you know what I mean?
Hardcore, you don't get me out on mine in November, like. But
well, my knees are starting to complain at the minute, so I'm like, I'm gonna knock this.
Have you invested in the heated stuff? I bet you have.
No, I have a belly. No,
I'm a proper softie. I've got heated everything. Like,
see, I can never get my head round I can never get. It's a terrible admission. I can never get my head around the technology of it all. Anything I've got to plug in, I have, because I'm a bit of a Luddite. If you give me logs and an axe, I'm laughing. If you give me
this is Dominic.
Hey, shush, we're having a moment here. We're having our moment.
If you give me a USB to plug somewhere, I'm like, oh shit. And anytime, I don't know about you guys, but and it'd be interesting to ask the listeners as well. I'm one of those people that if I have to buy some new technology, I leave it on the kitchen table, and I just walk past it for about a week and a half, looking at it like it's just dropped down from an alien spacecraft. And I'm just thinking, shit, at some point soon, I am going to have to get involved in you, and you are going to take away another little piece of my soul.
Amen.
So I just think, yeah, I'm not ready for it yet. Yeah. So I'll ignore it for another week until they'll go, here, Kingy, have you sorted that? And I'll go, no, it's still there.
I'll tell you what, this leads us on to the perfect question that we have to ask you at some point. What's your opinion on electric bikes?
Well, we rode
the future and everything like that.
Sure. Well, we rode them. We rode them in this latest series, and I have to say they were great. They were great motorcycles. They handled well. They were the problem is actually not. I have to say that I've spent all my motorcycling career smelling of oil and petrol and somewhere and trying to strip down something that's leaking.
Yeah.
And did used to ride Triumphs, you know. They definitely
did we? Yeah. So we and others, and believe me, and others, and I think that there's a clinical element to them that I completely get, because it's the cutting edge of technology, and I think that's great. And you know, I think that there is an environmental issue that we need that we certainly need to think about bloody quickly. But I think motorcycles are first of all, the 30 grand, which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is that how much an electric bike is?
These ones were, but I mean, they were honestly, lads, they were blisteringly quick. But there was no. There was no atmosphere. Yeah, there was a lack of soul to them, and I really don't want to put them down. But for a motorcyclist that goes, and you can herald your arrival. You see, I like loud, antisocial motorcycles. I just do.
I'm with you.
I just do, and I like that. I like it because the thing is, if I come up to a T-junction, look, I cannot legislate if they're deaf, but if they're not, they're fucking going to hear me coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like that because and there is that safety element because your roadcraft as a motorcyclist is completely different to when you're in a car. Completely different, and it's
got a license, haven't you?
and it's more attuned, and it's more. It's just more focused and more skilled and more razor sharp because you're on what is a pretty vulnerable vehicle, and it's quick.
I tell you what. One of my favourite quotes. Chrissy actually took it from. Oh God, it's like you in that University of Dave said this. He took this quote and he said, "Riding motorcycles, when you're in a car, you're watching the movie. But when you're on a motorcycle, you're in the movie."
Yeah.
And now he took that quote and he referenced it on this show. As you know, you've actually. I tell you what, listeners, sit down before I tell you this. He's listened to a few of these pods, which is that is the pressure on. And as you know, Chrissy built this up with his family, and
he did.
That quote always stick. And he didn't have his license for that long. No, he was race bikes for so long, you know what I mean? But he was really starting to enjoy, the motorcycle element that. Well, which we all love, you know what I mean?
Well, I think, it's just great, lads, and I'm entirely impressed that you're continuing it in his honour, because it's great. Well done, and well done to the family too, because it can't be easy. But what because it was his baby, wasn't it? That was the whole thing.
100%. And I tell you what, I feel like we should actually tell the listeners, how this actually happened. I didn't just pick up the phone and look through for Cy King and then hit the number. You actually you saw Karen in the local co-op. And
in the co-op, aye.
And this way,
a bag full of carrots in one hand and 4 Guinness in the other.
Hold on, is this you or Karen?
I'm not entirely sure who had the Guinness, but I know I had the Guinness.
Yeah, Karen likes the Guinness.
Really?
I did hear that. Sorry, Karen, if I wasn't supposed to say that.
They are fantastic. But no, so that's the thing, and Karen was so excited, bumping into you, being in the local area, and she was constantly trying to ring Chrissy and say, look, we've got Cy King, and Chrissy was really excited about having you on, and it's honestly, we're not wrapping up the show. I feel like we're wrapping up, but we're not wrapping up the show yet. This is really important for the family, so I've got to get that in before.
It's my absolute pleasure, and
and you're good crack. So this is
well, better. I'm better when I'm asleep or with a drink. But
well, because you never touched a drop. That was my job, but I'm glad. I feel like we should all we'll swap the quick ship of coffees for Guinnesses next time, and then we'll see where we go.
It would
from
be
there.
dangerous, that wouldn't it? Because
it's so dangerous with you too. It's so dangerous.
We've done the wine thing before, haven't we? And even it's sat in the house, and you're like, fuck it, you better get Lauren to pick you up. I'm not taking you. And it just flows, doesn't it? And it is nice. But
it is. It's lovely. It's a lovely thing.
I'd say, actually, speaking of that, it's a case of I feel incredibly rude because we should have started the show off with this question. How is Dave? It's
he's doing okay. He's continuing with his chemo, and Dave would be the first one to admit that it hasn't been an easy ride. So it's very. I think what is remarkable about me best mate is that he remains incredibly positive, and he's like, he's dying to get back to work, he's dying to do stuff, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm enormously privileged to be his mate, because at times like this you see the true. There is a truth to it, albeit a brutal one, but he's remarkable man, remarkable character, remarkable personality, just remarkable.
And that's what I love about Northeast people, is because you'll probably never tell him to his face.
No, just take the piss. No, just to be fair.
You never ever, like, it's definitely, I don't know if that's all over the country, but in general, you know, it's that kind of blokish, especially in Obi Sig, it's like that.
It's a bloke thing.
It is, isn't it? Behind the back, you're like, oh, I'm proud. But to your face, like, you are a knacker. You are 100% a knacker. You're bloody useless. There we go. So, what's the next journey then? Or a bit of a plot spoiler for everyone.
No, well, the series will continue through next week, and then it starts tomorrow night, 8:00 BBC. Well, that's irrelevant now, is it? Because I don't know when your podcast goes out. But anyway,
this is all Grace. It's up to Grace.
As of the 9th of January.
As of the 9th of January, it guns out in the 10th. No, so look, we don't know. We're just going to have to hang on and see how things go. But rest assured, if we can get back on the road, we will.
Okay, first of all, where's been your favourite, what's been your favourite route, your favourite journey?
I've wanted to. I've been reading about it.
Sorry,
No, that wasn't there. Just, it's definitely one I'm going to ask.
Has it been done yet? You know, is there somewhere that you're like, I need to do that? You know.
I'd like to do the Pan American Highway. I'd like to do that. But I'd like to do that.
Right.
Because that's remarkable. We spent some time in Argentina. So if there's any sponsors out there that want to watch two fat northerners launch themselves down the Pan
You've
American
seen this show
Highway.
before.
Are you sure you're not a racer? Are you sure you're not a racer? The way there's any sponsors out there.
It's a motorbike thing.
That's it, isn't it?
Any chance you could blag some money off you so I can cough down the Pan American Highway, please? Thanks very much.
God, I hope that happens.
I'd be a laugh there. So God, I mean, India was pretty amazing because we went down this the eastern seaboard down to the holy city of Madurai and up through the tea plantations and into the spice plantations and across to Cochin.
Take your bikes for that, or did you use
no,
bikes
we used Royal Enfield bullets and they were mint. And then one morning there was this like bus following us, and the thing is that if you're riding in those sort of areas in Chennai, you just can't be insured for it, so you just have to take pot luck because it's mayhem. And everybody, you see two fat white blokes on two Royal Enfields, and everybody's waving at you. But as they're waving at you in these old Morris Oxfords that are canny solid, they're waving at you, but they're driving towards you because they're all like having a lovely going, "Hello lads, are you all right?" Everything. And like Dave and I are in like on the what's the equivalent of the hard shoulder, where all the chickens and hens and all that sort of stuff.
The front of someone's garden.
The front of somebody's garden, and there's chaos going on, you know. Old grannies with baskets of fruit going everywhere. It was hilarious. So that was pretty remarkable. And then Argentina was pretty remarkable. That was and we did that on 2 Transalps. 650 Transalps, which was great fun. Not so great fun in the crosswinds across the Patagonian plains, but yeah, that was it was ridiculous. I've never, honestly, you know, it's like crossing the Atlantic on a reach, you know. So it's like you're bent over constantly, like to the left or to the right. It was hilarious, and then the big trucks would come past and go. You'd be like, "Hold on a minute, lads." Yeah. So that was pretty remarkable. Namibia was remarkable just for the wildlife and to be involved in that environment was and that was at the beginning of our careers. But then, you know, the Mediterranean adventure, and then up through you know, up into the Scandi countries and Russia and all that sort of stuff. Again, pretty immense.
Have you done Norway, Nordkapp or anything like that?
Yeah, I've been
it's a big one on my list. I want to do in the next couple of years.
Look, man, it's remarkable. I mean, that country is remarkable. And if you get up into Finland and stuff, you know, 75% of Finland's landmass is covered by wood. And they've got 2. I mean, the archipelago there is just remarkable. There's something mental, like 18,000 little islands, and it's just breathtaking, that country. Absolutely breathtaking. And as is Norway, as is Sweden, as is Denmark. You know, Denmark was Denmark, which is where I've been. I think I said Sweden, didn't I? My girlfriend always was going like, we're not going to Sweden. Where we going? Oh, Denmark. I know, but it's just over the water. I mean,
It's
they're
the same
close.
place.
It's like, yeah. So, so Denmark, Denmark, pretty amazing. And yeah, so look, there's been some remarkable trips. And it's very difficult to answer. Very difficult to answer. We've ridden some amazing roads.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, going to Morocco and up through the.
I wouldn't want to ride a bike through Morocco.
Atlas
Got
Mountains.
balls for that.
Oh man, it was mint. And then into
I've been to Morocco. It's a shithole.
into
Sorry,
the zoo.
Moroccan people, but it's shit.
Sorry. Oh yeah, most of our listeners are from Morocco. Don't worry.
Jesus, it's a scary place, I thought.
Did you?
Yeah, I was very young when I went on.
No,
with
it's
family
not scary, man. It's fab. You just gotta. I mean, honestly, it's fantastic. They're a great people, and we went to the edge of the Sahara to the Mazuga and saw Paris, the start of the Paris Dakar and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
Dakar's on at the moment, isn't it? Actually, just remind us of that.
Yeah, the Dakar is on. Yeah, we've got like one of our TT residents, James Hillier, doing it.
Oh, it's James doing it, is he?
He is, aye.
Ah,
Oh,
right.
Do you know James?
I know of James. Yeah, I know of James. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, that's
there we
cool.
go.
That's cool.
You must have been round the Isle of Man TT then. Sir,
I have.
a few
Yeah,
times.
we did them on monkey bikes.
I remember that.
I did Mad Sunny on monkey bikes. Holy shit!
Yeah, that is great. That was one of my questions was going to be, what's the most dangerous trip you've ever done? But that has single-handedly answered that. On Mad Sunday on a monkey bike with people flying back, that is probably the most dangerous thing.
That was hilarious. It was hilarious. All right, lads. Yeah. Yeah. All right. It was. Yeah. No, that was mental. Mental.
What about? I mean, I've never done any big trips abroad as of yet. We had planned to do the Arctic Circle Nordkap. We were going to camp it because just the cost. But long story short, you can't get a ferry from North Shields now, so it meant going to Holland and blasting, and it was going to be too long and to do. And anyway, we've never got around to it. So we've done a lot in the UK. What would you say? And I remember the series you guys did where you did a county a day, didn't you? And you did the traditional meals of that.
Yeah, 25. That was a 20. That series we did. It was one of the worst winters, and we had 2 Rocket 3s, I believe, and we did 25, just short of 25,000 miles on that.
Wow, insane.
Mental. It was good though.
So favourite sort of place in England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, even maybe. Have you done any?
Well, Northern Ireland, which was where we filmed some of the show, was fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful.
But then the north, you know, where the hairy bikers started, really right up in the north coast of Scotland. You know, the north that 500 route is
something else.
Pretty amazing. It's 500 miles of
the whole route, but we've done bits.
Yeah, just try and get up there and do the whole route. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Food's great, people are great, whiskey's great.
The whiskey's
it's
great.
Always a warm welcome. Yeah. It's just, you know, I know it's spot on.
We did last year. Sorry if we're talking about trips all the time, but last year we did a really cool couple of days away. We went to the Isle of Mull. So
beautiful.
There was 4 of us. 2 lads went a couple of days earlier because we had to work and whatnot, and then we blasted up there, met them, blasted up, rode at the speed limit all the way to Oban.
Of course you did.
Got on the ferry, met them over there, really great, and we had a couple of we'd wild camped, and it was the first time I'd ever wild camped. And it was absolutely fantastic. And then we didn't really have a plan, and we just went, actually, right, we'll go back onto the mainland now. And then we went to Butte, and we found this spot in Butte was, if you want to just get lost on a motorbike, go to Scotland.
And that's the lovely thing. That's the
amazing.
lovely thing, because Scotland are a very civilised race of human beings because they have the right to roam. And that's great without being being shot at by some landowner. It's great. I mean, it's a different case in Balmoral, obviously, but
yes.
Sadly, but that's there's some amazing places. It's hard to pick, and I mean, look, Wales has got some amazing roads.
Done some lovely bits around Snowdonia and stuff like that.
Snowdonia National Park's fantastic. You know,
excellent.
The Brecken's amazing.
I wasn't so keen on the very south. It was a bit towny, like it wasn't as Snowdonia, and that's like something else. The scenery's like
it's breathtaking. But you know, lads, you've just up into the national park in Northumberland. It's like Take some
Scottish borders here.
Oh, the
anywhere around
borders! The
Northumberland,
borders
amazing.
are amazing. I mean, like, you know, think
Been to
about-
Megget Reservoir.
No, I haven't actually.
Amazing place to stop. Absolutely amazing place. I went up there back end of
Which
last year.
reservoir?
Megget Reservoir.
Megget.
Yeah. No, there
It's
was.
the name of my old dog. Called Meg.
We just went exploring for the day. Like, knowing you've just had enough of shit and work and life.
Yeah.
It just aggro, and would literally just took me and a mate. And this is the great thing about motorcycling. Age is irrelevant. He's the same age as me dad. He's like twice and more my
Doesn't
age.
matter.
And it just doesn't matter. And we went up there, just woke up, text each other Friday night. I'm going camping. Are you coming?
Yeah.
Sound. And we literally just went and it got lost in the borders, and we ended up at Megget Reservoir, sort of on the way back towards St Mary's Loch. And
Ah, yeah, I know where you are. I know the area.
we got there a bit late and it got dark, and we're
Went to the pub.
well, we
Because there's
camped,
no pub.
but this lad that I went with, he owns a microbrewery and a
Happy
micro pub,
Days.
and he brought some amazing gin with him. And we cooked our barbecue and gin, and there was like no light pollution there. Just fucking
Just
amazing.
the stuff. Oh,
Just
wow.
class.
Yeah.
Some
And that's a great thing, isn't it?
unreal.
You know, it's like, you know, the last wilderness is the 70% of the earth mass is covered with water, over 70%. That's the true last wilderness, but there's still little bits you can find.
Yeah, and just class. Like, I love the trips and that. So I'm bending you here about the trips, but it's like in the last few years it's been a massive passion of mine, and I've was never interested while I was racing, but since I've stopped racing, loved it. The food thing kind of comes along with it, but we do like bangers and mash, like
Yeah,
like
but there's no.
easy
But you
shit.
see, the thing is, but easy shit's the way to go, isn't it? Because the thing is that you're
Well,
hungry, you've been
yeah.
riding all day, you cannot do,
Yeah.
you know, you cannot really do much else.
It's only some sort of meat and
Meat. meat, beer or gin, and look, what's better than bangers and mash?
It was
There's not
impressive
much.
as well. It was good. We've got it. We enjoyed it. That was the Butte meal. That was really good. And we've I should give Peter a little plug. Actually, he's got a great YouTube channel where we document our trips, and he puts a lot of effort into it. I'm not so bothered about documenting the trips just because I'd love to, but I like to enjoy my trip. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to
You'll regret
it's
that,
proper
man.
effort.
I'd
to
like
do.
to say that you know, I
You
don't
can
need
do
it, but we've got people that do. It's great. It's like
but we've got
these
Peter, he
dudes are
does it for
following
us.
us. It's great. Oh no, and you should document it, because for posterity, it's great.
Aye.
You know,
I'll get Grace to stick a link to Peter's 2-wheel trips thing. It's getting quite popular. He's got some amazing trips on there.
That's probably one of my dad's biggest regret. Like, his only regret in life, that he didn't document enough.
yeah.
You know, we're so driven by and I know what you mean, that you walk around this like an alien.
Yeah.
But we almost take these for granted now,
Oh,
in
yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think that's very true. But also, you know, Dave's he's a great archivist. He kind of archives all the stuff that because I've just not made that way. It's not that I'm not interested. I just like I'm not made that way. And he'll ring us up and he'll go, "Hey, Kingy, buy that paper, man, because there's a really good article in." And I'll go, "I'm not buying that paper, dude." And he'll go, "No, man, buy it, man. It's just like it'll be for the scrapbook or whatever, you know."
Keep it.
So he's great like that. You know, it's a good partnership.
Well, my dad was a woodcutter, like same as me, you know, and it's
Right.
like the photos. He's only got the proper photos that kept in a shoebox, you know,
Yeah,
Clark
it's
shoebox.
just fantastic,
And
man.
you put it out and you're like, that is just class. And you can see him looking at it. And back when you had to write on the back and write. And
what the crap was, yeah.
But the thing is, he regrets not writing their names. You know, the lads that he
what a
worked
shame.
with, you know what I
Aye,
mean?
what a
And you
shame.
just think, but normally you pick it up and go, "Oh, there's Terry, there he is."
but you can't- aye.
And now it's like, yeah, I wonder what's happened to him.
Aye.
But now you look at your phone. But how often do you actually look at your phone? You know,
Well,
like
this
through
is
phone, you know what I mean? And
this is the thing, isn't it? You know?
and
I
we're-
can't answer that question because I'm
no, but the mad thing,
I'm
like,
on it all the time.
and I,
way
like,
too much.
Speaking of talking about it, but like, I regret, like, I'm very lucky that I had, you know, we did this with Chrissy. I've never watched one of these pods back. I know, you know what, I tried when Chrissy went, and I tried, and I can't. And I regret not taking more photos with, you know, of the stuff that we did, man. You know what I mean? And it's just like that little the journey beside the journey.
Yeah,
And
that's
you're talking
always-
about that though, and
that's where all those little nuggets of
gold.
that's where all the gold is, isn't it?
100%.
The KFC story.
Oh, God, but-
stories are born out of that sort of.
You do, and that's the thing. You need to keep that. I've almost talked myself out of that conversation because it's like I have to document more to actually maybe
And then-
document a little less and keep that
And I
for
think,
yourselves, you know.
and I think what happens is that if you do that, then what tends to happen is that you become what the media facilities that we have on our at our disposal now, and the global way that we can any old shit will do.
Aye.
Where what happens is that if you're slightly more judicious about what you put on, your brain then becomes slightly more attuned to a quality of content. Do you see what I'm saying?
It's a good point, that, yeah.
Because what happens is that if you just go, oh, that'll do, stick it on. What you do is you then start to sort the wheat from the chaff, and those golden moments and those golden nuggets you just instinctively know, and you remember, and you're able to document them because you go, this is coming up, because you're paying more attention. And that's the difference.
Yeah, that's a very true point. I'm a massive photo taker, and I get the piss taken out of me all the time.
Shit at it. I'm so bad at it.
Up my leg, when we've been out a few times on the drink, and I'm like, get a picture,
I was going to chuck that out the window, honestly.
I get
a photo, I'm like...
Well, no, I get a picture.
I'm like, Quasimodo in the side of a bloody Weatherspoons, mate. Fuck off with your camera. Like, you know what I mean? Just leave it alone.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, though. Like, but the difference, it's when I say I don't like documenting the trips, what I mean is Peter goes in. He wants to vlog them. But it's serious. Like it's a lot of work, and I want to enjoy the holiday. But I'm a massive photo taker. I love to take pictures. Love talking about the trips and stuff like that. And I do think it's important. I know people don't like getting the photos taken, but like it is.
No, look, it's important as long as they're of a quality.
Yeah.
You know, if it's any old dross.
No, yeah.
You know, you've got to be slightly judicious about what you put up. I think anyway.
Yeah, so no pictures of done.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. You know what I mean? Quality over quantity. That's what
Absolutely.
it is. There you are.
Exactly what I'm
100% agree. But I'll tell you what, because we're chasing the racing, we must ask this question. We must ask this. Where was your last race meeting?
Oh God, a good while ago now. I think.
You ever wanted to race?
Do you know what? I had the greatest privilege of riding Joey Dunlop's CB 600.
I'll just chuck that out there.
Round. I can't remember where it was, wasn't it? Round some mad racetrack somewhere, and
around a road race or a circuit.
It was a circuit,
yeah,
and I think it was at Brooklands or somewhere like that. Anyway, and there was that. You know, it was just like it was a tootle because I was shitting my pants. It's Joey Dunlop's motorcycle. You know what I mean? I was like, what? And that was pretty amazing. I think the last meet that that Dave and I were British Superbikes meet, and it's got to be. It's part of the problem is with racing season, we're always filming, so we're never we can never get there. And like when we get
a destination,
when we do, well, it's possible. But when
we bring the studio,
somewhere nice, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
no. As much as we love the Bennett BSB here, somewhere Spain or like somewhere hot. You know what I mean? It's
and I think that's it. I think that yeah. So it's a good while since I've been to a meet actually, which is shocking really.
Who's the most like? How many races have you cooked for? And the next question after that is, who would you like to cook for?
They could be dead or alive.
Oh, I like that twist. Well done, Josh.
Well, we know the Dunlop family quite well, so it would have been nice to cook for Joey and the boys. John McGuinness, I quite like to cook for John because he's a nice guy.
What was your reference at the beginning of this? People live to cook, like survive.
He survives to eat.
Yeah, he's me and John are on that page.
I just massively insulted John McGuinness.
Look, he's got a sense of humour. Crack on.
Live to eat or eat to live.
That's the one.
So,
what would you cook him?
Oh God, I don't know. It's always what he wanted to eat. You just ask him, and then maybe you would push the boundary a little bit just to say, give him something that he hadn't had. But there's not much that John hasn't had. So he's a nice guy as well. I have a lot of time for John.
Right. Would you go on the back of a TT lap with him?
Actually, no. Absolutely
bit
not.
of choke,
No.
Josh, that would have fired.
No. I think Dave actually won a, and it just didn't happen for one reason or the other. Dave won a. No, not with John. Dear God. No. I'll stick to the monkey bike tour very much. What those boys do is just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. The levels of skill and balls. Man, mental.
It is good, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's proper good. Huh? You just see them come. I mean, it's like, right, okay, over the mountain.
Have you watched like the Northwest as well? Have you watched any
The
other
Northwest
races?
500, yeah. I haven't. We haven't been because we were often asked to go. But again, it was right, and it was absolutely. It was filming, and that's always the frustration. And you know, Dave and I mean, Dave's probably been back a little bit more than me to the TT because it just falls right over filming. And when you're away for 3-4 months at a time, when you do get any time off, you need to go home to see the family to make sure that you still have a wife and 3
the dog's
kids
being
and
fed.
the dog, you know, all that sort of stuff. So
The Bairns don't need any shoes.
The Bairns don't need. Dave, do you want to buy another bike?
Where the fuck you been out, Chardonnay?
It's exactly all that.
I only went to the shops for a Chardonnay.
Well, look, right. It happened a few years ago. I bumped into Karen had a pack of carrots and some Guinness. I've been home for 3 years since.
No, that was pretty fundamentally it. Yeah.
Glass man. No, but have you been to watch MotoGP? Have you been like?
No, I'd you know, in terms of racing, I just it always happened at the wrong time of the year for me.
Yeah, it's very typical, that, isn't it? Like it's.
Yeah, but you know, you watch it I watch it on the box and all that, and yeah, I mean, I you know, I love stuff like that. I love it. It's class.
Hey, sorry, I'll tell you what, you're going to have to fill in. I've got a list of Patreon questions for you. And the thing, what happens with the patrons, them amazing people, because without them, we wouldn't have a show. That simple. We end up having a natural conversation, as well, natural as this show can deliver. And we end up answering a lot of them questions. So you're going to have to fire out the rudest question you can get while I'm flicking through these.
A good one, actually. It's probably a.
Is it rude?
No,
that's true.
Well, so think. As someone who's into bikes, rides bikes, race bikes, we're all bikers. What's the question you get asked all the time, which is, how do you get? If I want to get into riding a bike, what do I do? Where do I start? And it's, you know, there's a million answers, isn't there? But fundamentally, it's by doing something. So, what's the question? If I want to get into cooking, I want to learn how to cook. I want to be a better chef.
Ooh.
Pick a recipe that you want to get one of our books.
How many books do you have? Do you actually?
There's a few.
There is a few.
29 cookbooks.
29 cookbooks.
I know they like, because I've obviously read them all. I'm just checking. They're like recipes. So like, use this amount of this, use this amount of that.
Yeah, because the thing is that Dave and I go to a great. We take a great amount of time. We've got a fantastic team that we work with that test the recipes, and before the recipe goes anywhere near the page, they're tested 3 or 4 times by three. They're tested by Dave and I. They're tested by a home economist. They're tested by a stylist. And then they're tested again because the ones that we choose to shoot to make the blads for the book is, so we absolutely know if you follow the recipe,
that's what it's
gonna look like the picture.
Yeah,
I mean, we're kind of legislated for idiots.
Yeah,
I was about to say, I'm going to fill that category nicely. Give me the ingredients.
Yeah, but just it's like an Airfix kit. It's like you know the Haynes manual when you're putting the gearbox together on a. I remember when XS 750s, 650s, and 750s the triples used to like jump out of third gear, and you'd get this stamp on the casing with a little star to say that it had been fixed. Bollocks. It never been fixed.
There'll be loads of listeners out there now going,
that's right, exactly what he's saying. And because it was a pain in the arse. And but if you follow the Haynes manual and put the right cogs in the right way,
it'll go in.
It'll go in.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same as cooking. If you follow the instructions the best way to do it is pick something that you want to cook.
Yeah.
Get all of your ingredients ready, and we call that in the trade a mise en place. So it's all of the ingredients weighed out and ready.
See, that's where I go wrong.
Then follow the method. It's a bit, I mean, it's like, then follow the method.
Yeah.
But follow it and read it. And then what will happen is stick to the cooking times, stick to how much ingredients we're telling you in, because it's all balanced. It's all about that. It's all about, you might think, oh no, I fancy a bit more of that, which I'm notorious for. And I've stopped, actually. I've kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah, but you're at a different level, aren't you? You're doing like, you know more about food in general. Like, I suppose there's following your recipe, and that's great for people who want to get started and beyond that even. But what would your advice be around just exploring? Because
explore. Look, look, there are two types of cook. There's and Dave's probably the first to admit this, that he will follow a recipe and he'll do that. Whereas I and he's quite instinctive as well. Mind, having said that, and I sometimes like following recipes, mostly around baking and all that sort of stuff. But I'm slightly more instinctive. So I'll just kind of go, I'll throw that together and that together and that together and that together. Because for me, and as is for Dave, because he's quite good at that as well.
Yeah.
There is that. It's another form of creative flair.
Yeah.
And through that process, you just go, yes, right. So next time,
don't do that.
Or year's time, but that's a different thing. You know that it's always going to taste great, but you know that you're just tweaking with balancing the ingredients. I suppose it's
a little
bit
between
more.
Playing someone else's song and writing your own, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Or
you
covering it,
that.
let's say. Like,
I mean, look, the thing is that the world of food is always it's an enormous pleasure to be part of, but also and it's enormously generous. So and creative as well. There's some amazing, So you can present it differently, or you could think, but I don't know. A creme brulee is a creme brulee. Yeah. You can change the custard a little bit, but
it's fundamentally the same thing.
It's fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah,
you can change the flavours, and then pie's a pie.
Yeah,
but a pie's not always a pie.
No,
so.
You're setting down a rabbit hole here. I can see that.
I watched that one.
Grab them.
On the.
I've got to speak for hours about
that. It shocked us. I watched that one that you did with the big cold pie, a game pie.
Yeah,
but it was done cold, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen. It was fucking huge. It's like this.
Yeah, that's with a dolly.
Yeah, and with a big thing. Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
that it
dolly,
encased it in.
And you put it in. It's
I quite like what I liked about that was you almost used to like letting the other guy
cold water pastry.
I like that. It was like really for two professionals who were doing something to allow someone else to come in. I thought it was really good.
Look, the thing is that if my dad always used to say the only time that you stop learning is when your elbows are touching wood, and that's the whole thing.
I like that.
You just gotta and everybody in the food world, as I was saying before, is incredibly generous with their knowledge and application. I mean, you'll always get that's a secret.
Yeah.
My mother was just the same. I'm not telling you that. Any chance you could, Mum? I'm on the telly and in the shit. If you could just give us an angle on that recipe, will you? Never you mind. You'll work it out. Bloody hell, woman. So but yeah, no. Look, it's incredibly generous. It's a great world to be part of, and that with the motorcycle fraternity as well.
Yeah. I've got one last question.
Crack on, son. Crack on.
You talked a little bit about technology before. What about technology within cooking? So, and I mean things like, two things. So I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I don't like air fryers.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about an air fryer?
I like air fryers.
I think it's cheating.
Well, it's not cheating, is it? If you're trying to lose some calories, and it
feels like cheating, though, doesn't it?
One of our patrons.
Like
look at my face, Dom. Does this face tell you that I think it looks like cheating?
No, but it feels like it.
I tell you what, I'm over the moon. I
argue with my mother about this all the time because, to be fair, she's not a good cook, bless her. And if she organised,
it's your mother, man. Come on, we have boundaries on this show. You can't be slagging your mum off.
If she organised the last supper, it would have been a takeaway. Like that's our thing. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what she does. And
we're going to take away from Rosie's.
Yeah, she's bought an air fryer and it's like everything.
Well, she bought one of our air fryers, did you?
No,
it's air fryer.
You actually have an air fryer?
Well, we've got all sorts of stuff.
Paul's out of stock as well, because everywhere else is.
I was about to say, that's one of our Patreon questions from Paul the Pump there. What's your favourite air fryer recipe?
Chips.
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 You're
Can I whack it, man? They're great. The mint.
That is
Chips out of air fryers are just a mint. And they're guilt-free.
I was about to say, what is your biggest guilt food? You know, like, you've had a few cans, you're at home, you're hitting the fuck it button and you're going, I need a bit of this.
So it's, well, mostly because alcohol brings on a carbohydrate frenzy, doesn't it? Well, it does with me. And it would be, I think probably either pasta, like spaghetti with oil and garlic and some chili. That does me every time. It's epic. And or a load of parsley. And or if I'm slightly worse for wear, and I don't buy. Sometimes I do, but I don't buy bread, so I make my own because I've got a sourdough. So I make my own sourdough bread, and because then I know what's in it, and toasted sourdough bread with butter and marmite. And then you could get slightly perverse around it and put like...
You know what? This is... I'm not being funny, but I was expecting like, sweet and sour chicken, egg fried rice from the local. That sounds like...
He's a chef.
No, that's what I mean.
Listen,
I'm thinking,
beans, man. However, beans on toast.
Oh, you can't whack them.
You know what makes me laugh? You know when you were talking about like being up in the hills and stuff like that. Like we had like in the forestry, like especially working in Scotland, we have like a fireman. So his job's to keep the fire going and just jack potatoes. And honestly, it looks like a bunch of alley cats have been there. There's like a pile of old tins of beans.
Because our kids, my eldest son is a tree surgeon. That's what he does. He's a tree surgeon now.
Tom's like, don't let him in this area. That's my competition.
What's his rate? I'm always looking for you.
Well, if you're always looking for them, he's.
What have I done there? I've had a technicality there, kids. What's happening to your microphone? Aha, you're disconnected. Carry on.
Oh, that'll be.
Here we go. Fill in the gap, Josh.
Oh, there, I'm back.
He's back. Right, everyone calm down. He's back. There we are.
Our kid. He works at. He works for some large company.
Right.
But he's a climber, and he's very good. He's very good. He goes to the palace. He has his security clearance for all of that. And,
oh wow, that's cool.
So
I like
it's
stuff
pretty
like
cool. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He works on some big trees. And I'll go. He keeps sending us photographs. All his ground crew will send him some photographs.
What are you doing up
and
there?
I'll go, can you just get down? I know what you were like when you were little. Yeah. And you've got a chainsaw. Oh,
it is an impressive trade, isn't it? I've seen some pictures and you're like...
It's a remarkable skill. And you've got to be fit. You've got to keep fit. And he's super fit.
I'm going to give Grace that clip of you chopping them logs up.
Oh, he was trying to impress her last week. Going to go any firewood, Dom? He just turned up like a bloke and like, I chopped this, and like, no, Dom did. Like,
Dom chopped it.
Dom did.
You even loaded it in the car for us.
I know.
You shouldn't say stuff like that. You're going to get me in trouble.
But you love a bit of trouble, you man.
Edit that out, Grace.
Not a chance. You keep that in, Grace. 100%. I'll tell you what. Like, moving on to one of the next questions. Paul Bennett here. Gryffindor or Slytherin? I like that. Nice one, Paul.
That's quite good, Paul. Bit of both.
Bit of both. I like that. I'll tell you what.
Bit of both.
I've got a question here.
I like a bit of the.
We've got one from Sniffing Skid Marks. He's he actually sponsors the team, like our race for the Cowton Race, and he's from Cornwall, and he turns up with, guess what? Cornish pasties. He puts them on the back of his bike, gets all the way up to Heysham, gets on the ferry, and comes to the Isle of Man every year. And it's unbelievable. He's like a mate. He hasn't even got a neck. He's just massive, like just hench. So you're just like, some bloke comes out there, the ether, and just goes, "Eat that." You're like, no problem, son. No problem, son. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't turn a Cornish pasty down.
Excuse me, have you got any sauce?
Oh God, the time I was just crapping my pants.
There you go. Well, I'm always troubled with indecision, me, so it depends.
That was the most political question that we've asked on this show.
Bacon sandwich with mushrooms, got to be brown.
Ooh.
Bacon sandwich with the worst white bread you can absolutely find, with shitloads of butter on it, got to be red.
I'd agree with that.
You see,
big time,
you know what I love, right? You know what I envision with this show is like people listening to this going down the road or watching the YouTube and
Screaming at the
like,
vast.
screaming,
It's red.
bloody proud, like, you know what I mean? Like crowd was just divided straight up.
Well, it's like Marmite, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Do you like
I don't,
it?
think
Right,
I've, I don't think I've tried Marmite, actually.
What sort of life have you led?
Well, the Sheldon one, I think.
Oh, hey, man,
Sheldon
dude, you
one,
need
yeah.
to work harder at it.
I didn't eat anything other than chips until I moved out of my parents' house. Honestly, I told you last supper takeaway. That
would be it.
You know that last supper from his mum's?
Yeah.
Just chips.
Yeah, just chips.
Epic.
Beige.
In the air fryer.
If it wasn't beige, I
That would
didn't eat
really
it.
piss you off, wouldn't it? Last supper, here we go, air fryer chips.
By
What's
Harry
going on?
Bikers. Love it. Right, I'm going to put this question on. I haven't even heard this one, so hopefully we haven't already covered it. From Sniffing Skid Marks.
Good evening, team. And Si, it's Sniffing Skid Marks calling in from the Netherlands. First off, I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming on the pod. I'm sure it must mean a lot to the family and what have you to have you on the podcast. Try and keep it brief then. You're going on a bike tour, heading into Europe, you're packed up, tyre pressure's done, just about to head off. What 3 home ingredients would you take with you to adorn your local sourced camp cooked food? Thanks.
Nice.
I
Nice.
like that, son.
Oh, that's a corker.
Oh, I like
That is
that.
an excellent question.
Hey, well
Okay,
done.
so the three that I not. So I'll always take one of my knives or 2 of my knives always, because there's not, and a sharpener.
You see, you can take the lad out the northeast, but you can't get northeast out the lad.
You can't not forget the sharpener. Dangerous.
No, you can't. Hey,
Because
Dangerous blunt ones.
blunt knives, man, I have the same pathological hatred for blunt knives as I do for UPVC windows. So
Yeah, for you,
I don't know where it comes from,
windows.
dude. I just hate them. So anyway,
You saw right.
what else would I take? Normally, God, I have been known to travel with Marmite, and I have been known to travel with home pickled beetroot, because I just like it.
I love beetroot.
So makes your shit go red though. That's always, and you always think you've had an hemorrhage. It's like you look and then you're going, Christ almighty, oh no, I had beetroot, that's all right. Aye. So that's always a sobering thought. But those and probably there's a rub that I use for, and sometimes I do my own barbecue sauce. And I've travelled with that before, because obviously mostly it's a barbecue. So it would be 2 sharp knives, a sharpener, and barbecue sauce. My own barbecue sauce,
I
and
like
a Kilner
it.
jar covered with
Unreal.
yeah.
I like
that'd
it
be
with barbecue sauce. With a burger, a proper dirty burger.
Nah, man, you want it on belly pork and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm not that sophisticated.
How can you not be sophisticated? It's a bit of
No,
pork
you're right,
from
I
the
know,
bit,
but
you know, you just put it on the thing.
have
You
an
can have it with a sausage.
have an
Or
adventure outside
the
of
other
that,
thing
yeah.
is a brush, so you can brush it on. And then sometimes I take a dry rub with me. Where you
So
see
then
that's
3
different.
things will be 10.
Well, 6.
The third one is going to have 3 more things to take.
Yeah,
care
I
of.
have 3 more things to do. Thanks,
Good,
Sniff.
it's a good
Sorry
question.
about that. It's a bloody good question.
That is a
Well
good
done.
question. We've got another one from Richard Dobson. We've already covered that one, mate. Have you considered any motorbike racing? We actually touched on it very briefly.
I'm too fat and scared to be a motorcycle racer. Do you know what I mean? But I'd like to go. I'd like to go, and I think I'll make a bigger effort to try and get to some meets actually, because but like I say, it's all due to.
I tell you what, I would love you to get that John McGuinness lap sorted. I know you outrightly said no, but what I heard was yes. You know
No,
what?
I know. Outrightly, no.
No, John, if you're listening, his son listens to us. You'll be telling him.
Don't tell your dad, but it's still a no. There is absolutely no way you'd get me, because I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to riding bike. I'm the worst pillion in the world. I just cannot do it.
Even like with Dave riding, you know, like you've known him for years, just straight up.
Not straight up. And he's the same. He's the same.
Right.
He's the same.
There we go. Next one from Stephen Moore. You lads have had oh my giddy aunt, what was in that quick shift of coffee? There you are. You've had a lot of bikes. What has been your favourite bike over the years while touring? I like that one, Steve. I like that one.
I'll tell you what. When they're working, you can get parts. I'd really enjoy. We really did enjoy the KTM's. The KTM's.
Well, you know what KTM stands for, don't you? Keep taking money.
Keep taking
It does stand for that. But I'm a big KTM fan, so leave them alone.
The KTM's were really nice. The Ducati Multistradas were good as well, pretty well behaved. Which makes a change for a Ducati. And we enjoyed those very much. The Triumphs were all good. Were always good. The BMW, and look, I mean, the part of the problem for us is that what we do is we use motorcycles that's appropriate to what we're doing, and also appropriate to the country. So we had 125 Minsks, which is this Russian made motorcycle, single cylinder. Put because and we said, why am I riding 125? She said, because the police only have 250s. So we were like,
makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. But then all the lads, you'd hear all these screaming exhausts at night time at about 3:30 in the morning around Ho Chi Minh City, going, can we not borrow some of their lads? Those motorcycles. Oh, you're gonna bring them out in the day? Like, no, what? So yeah, no, genuinely, the KTM's pretty good.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, crack on.
I'm just going to ask you a little bit about some of the models and stuff like that, and what you've obviously I know you're on to the electric job at the moment for the tour, and have you ridden any of the later KTMs, like the latest 1290s or anything?
Have you got like a side deal KTM at the the moment.
No, I've got
we had that 1290i, the 1290i Adventurer. That was nice. You know, and then we had when we did the Norwegian the Go North thing. We did not the Go North thing, when we went up to Hairy Bikers Northern Exposure show. We had KTMs in there, and again, I haven't ridden any lately actually, so might have a look at those.
Anything on your like wish list at the moment? I've got a thing for the new Triumph. It looks really tall, but it just looks mint. And there's just something I think about owning a Triumph.
A Triumph Tiger or a Triumph?
The new Triumph Tiger. There's
the Tiger
100 thing. Shaft drive as well. The only thing about KTM really is the chain and touring. It's a bit aggro. Really, it's not the best that you want the shaft drive. Really, it's just easier. Isn't it?
It is easier, but you just got to look after your chain.
I know, but
that's an old school. That's an old school kind of mindset. Some of the lads, not a child. I want a chef. I want it easy. Well, just look after your chain, you lazy bastard.
Oh, you sound like me father.
I love it. One of the final question from the Patreon element. George Smith, you've got the most important dinner party of your life. What starter, main, and dessert are you going to choose for that?
Well, every dinner party I have is important because I'm cooking for the people I love and care about. So,
well answered, you smooth son of a gun. Come on, George, step up your game.
How are you, George? What's going on there? So look, I'm a massive fan of fish and seafood. So that's my thing, and big bits of meat. Can
we edit that? Just close that in. Reel that.
Thank you very much. The title is big bits of meat.
You have to chuck an innuendo in there somewhere.
So I think you're already after. So I think probably to start you'd have like I'd do something. I like to keep it really simple because the seafood that we get up here is some of the best in the world. So I probably would fire a load of langoustine and a local squid. Have that with put a big platter in the middle. So everybody would dunk in with homemade bread and different dips and sauces. Next one would be oysters from Lindisfarne. So you just have these courses, beautiful piece of cod halibut with line cod halibut with a beer sabayon probably, and then for dessert,
Don't seem like a bit of a dessert fan the way you're like.
No, I'm not. It's funny. I'm not a dessert fan actually. I'd probably give a choice of there'd be quince jellies and dates and fantastic local cheeses. That's probably where I'd go.
That's a proper dinner.
I was hungry before we got this one going. Never mind people listening to this now going.
So that's where I'd probably go, lads. But then again, there's great bits of meat. There's great bits. The lamb man up in Morpeth area there. His flop is amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Great meat, and then you've got great wagyu and Aberdeen Angus cross going on. There's some pretty amazing, some great pigs being raised. Some pretty amazing producers up in the northeast. So. Yeah, difficult. It's difficult, but that would be me go-to because that's what I would do. It's all wood fired,
and it's put it in the middle of the table job.
And I like cooking like that because it's with all the little accoutrements for everybody and all the little because it's inclusive and you've got to get involved. You know what I mean? There's no easy options. If you don't know how to peel a prawn, if you don't know how to peel a langoustine before you come to dinner, you definitely will after you leave. So and some great wines and. Yeah, and beers and nice beers, and so you do. What I tend to do is depend on what I'll beer match and I'll wine match. So
right
along the.
I said that like I knew what that meant, but okay.
You did. I was impressed. I was impressed with that, Josh.
But I thought it's got alcohol in it. It must be nice.
You should have held the line there. You were fully down the rabbit hole. What
I was going to ask you was. Where do you shop? We know you shop at the Co-op, but what's your...
That's only to go Jack Karen up
I've experimented recently with different... I've got inflammatory bowel disease, which have only really reared its head this year.
So diverticulitis, is that?
It's ulcerative colitis.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
really, the sort of my understanding and what I got from doctors was I can't tell you what not to eat because it's individual. So you just explore with it.
No, you can't.
They
can't tell you.
Well, this I mustn't have got a very good one. Yeah. And he was, I've explored with, I'm trying this thing at the moment. It's a doctor, you know the name of him. Like a nose to tail diet. So I'm trying like oxtail soups and just like liver and stuff like just like a all meat diet thing. And it's been really hard but interesting. But also stuff that I would want to go and buy, you can't buy it in the Co-op. So where do you go, right? Like it's really difficult. I found it really hard. It's had a massive impact on my diet and for health. This is where I shop locally. So I'll go to Nitsley Farm Shop because the meat there is fantastic. You go and see Neville the butcher, and the rest of the lads. There's Gordon there. They're fantastic. They're fantastically knowledgeable. The meat is of an incredibly high quality. So I'll go there. I'll go to the Paddock, which is all organic. Laura at the Paddock, fantastic lady. You just got to keep an eye out for when she's open. But it's all grown. It's just superb. Yeah. And then there's great natural grains for flour and all that sort of stuff. So I'll go there. I'll go to Brighton Grove food store in the West End. Yeah, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
I'll go there because that's you walk in with an empty bag and a load of questions, and you come out with a full basket full of answers.
And an empty wallet there.
Well, no, it's really cheap. So I always buy my spices in there because they're a third of the price that you would buy them in a supermarket and a better quality.
All right.
And also Hutchies, Hutchinson's on Stanhope Road. I go to Hutchies for fruit and veg as well as Laura's.
Yeah.
And there's a great lad down at the bottom, which part of the Hutchies family. Before you get to the roundabout and at Bladen and go on to the A1.
Yeah.
That little behind the wall. It's always like there's a little farm shop and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah.
Axwell Hall area. So I pop in to see them every now and then. So yeah, and then I go to Ray Hills for me beer. Do you know Ray Hills?
I don't.
Oh, you've got to go to Ray Hills, man. It's an emporium of wonder.
I'm going to make a note.
I'll give you these. I'll give you this.
Are you like a Guinness man or a?
I'm an anything man. I like quality. I like quality booze. I just like it. I wouldn't drink I wouldn't drink Euro piss, but But there's no like it actually. Come to think of it, on a hot summer's day, and it's a cold. That's kind of good. And then Great. I go to Great. Which is a cheese shop in Jesmond and all that sort of stuff. So
I'm just new to cheese, to be honest. I'm like
what do you mean you're new to cheese? It's been around for about 6 million years.
That's why I said I was new to it. I'm new to it.
I'm new to cheese.
Josh,
it's never found you before now, Josh, has it not?
No, like I would eat like cheese on a pizza, but that would be it. Like, no problem.
Oh, wait,
like,
have you been to Slice? Have you been to Slice?
No, I haven't. But
go to Slice, man. It's epic.
You recommend
Slice is superb, and you've got to keep an eye out for an organisation called Cantina as well.
Okay.
They do pop-ups and stuff. Excellent. Really good. All tackles and.
Sorry, I'm just asking all the fanboy questions.
Where else do I go? The Tyne Bar. Go to the Tyne Bar for a pint. It's good. Lovely. Down the Tyne Bar. Feathers. That's brilliant. Great food.
Like the Bridge Tavern.
Good people. The Bridge Tavern. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
I tell you what, we took Dominic to the Broad Chair.
Oh, the Broad Chair. Terry Laybourne's place. Yeah, Broad Chair's good. Yeah.
Poached eggs. What about poached eggs and it's Christmas? Pigs and blankets.
I can't remember.
Monks. You got some monk's cheek as well, which I'd never had before. That was lovely.
Yeah, not monk's cheek because that's a holy order.
Whatever it was called.
Monk's fish cheeks.
That's it. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
Like a monk's cheek. What you said there.
I've just eaten a monk. I mean, that was nose to tail as well, Josh, was it? Smashing. There's no like eating a monk at Christmas.
You fucking knew what I meant.
You know what I mean?
You knew what I meant.
I did.
But it was great. It was lovely there. Like that.
No, they're good. And I tell you where it's great seafood as well. If you go to the Saltwater Fish Company in Phoenix, that's good because that's Terry's place as well. It's really good.
Brilliant.
It's really good.
Class, man.
And Lindisfarne for oysters. Ooh.
I'm going to try it.
There'll be people blaring this down. You can't rewind this. Don't worry about that. You can't go back for this. That is a huge list that you've just banged out there.
Let's go. That's where you asked us where to go. And that's
but I like that. There wasn't one major. Obviously, people use supermarkets for convenience, right? But
yeah.
Well, look, we all do. We all do. And I do. Every now and then. But I purposely go out and shop at places and shop at independents, because they're normally family businesses. So.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's what I tend to do.
Brilliant. I tell you what, I am very, very conscious about the time because you're going to work after this.
I am.
You've got to do a curry and you've got a busy schedule.
I've got some bits to test. Yeah.
Oh, good man. But I'll tell you what, I've got to do a bit of housekeeping before we fully wrap up, lads.
Sure.
But I must say, massive thanks to Gareth Heckinson for doing them. We've actually changed from Colchester Kawasaki to Global Moto, which is in the same family, but it's just been rebranded. They sponsored Chrissy for a long time, and it's from Lucas Distribution there. So
that's Gareth, is it?
Yeah. So Gareth is from
Global
Excel
Moto.
Signs. No, sorry, Gareth is actually very last minute has supplied the site for us to get on the show.
Well done, well done. Well, Global Moto, well done, because it's a great podcast.
You'll be over the moon with that, absolutely over the moon, because if you need a bike, go on Global Moto. They'll do click, buy, deliver. They do everything on that side of things.
Do they?
They'll deliver it to you.
Huge list of manufacturers.
I do
anything.
actually at the minute, because I'm scratching my head about what to buy. So
you know the new BSC, has that ever tickled you?
It has actually. Dave and I went and had a look at one, and there's also the that Enfield Scrambler. That looks all right. Looks like a good bit crack, that, and then there's the Himalaya version.
I'm excited to see these BSCs, not other than when
Chrissy
was
honestly, man, they're fantastic. I haven't seen
one in person.
They look fantastic. They genuinely do.
Well, Chrissy was actually he was a major part of bringing the BSA under Lucas Distribution. So they were bringing it in. So Chrissy was really wearing that on pride, and that's how I got into racing, because my granddad built BSA Gold Star race bikes.
Oh wow!
And my dad did his first Manx Grand Prix on a BSA Gold Star that he built with his dad.
Right.
And then realised he had a son that doesn't really like it. I'm joking. And never gave me a BSA, swine.
But it's ironic, don't you think, that the BSAs are now going to be in Coventry? It's just down the road from where they would have been.
Well, I think that's all. That's all fantastic, and part of the legacy of motorcycles. If you remember from where they came from, it was a working class transport, because nobody could afford a car. My dad, we didn't have I think I think my dad had a Ford Anglia for about 700 years. Do you know what I mean? It was like, because he was a motorcyclist mostly.
We've discussed this before, in that the lots of like my dad's generation and stuff, they all had bikes. And I asked them a few weeks ago over a couple of pints, what do you think the reason was? And two things he said was, one, it was you couldn't afford a car, so when you were 16 you got a bike. Absolutely. And everybody did. But also he said there was like it was like a cool thing to have. It was just generally considered to be cool.
But also there still are, and also there was that there was a slight. There was a cachet about anti-conformism as well. There was still that if you rode a motorcycle, you were just and look, we're all the same. We're just cutting our own groove. Thanks very much. So leave us alone.
See you.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. But I tell you what, that's another one I must shout out. Seriously, my dad is putting so much time. Like, we've just been changing a few things in the studio, just trying to get things sorted. My dad is like, he's been helping us lathe, and like my dad. Like, he's the reason why I'm into bikes, and I love him for it. Absolutely love him for it, and I can't thank them enough.
Well done for that, though.
And also, Katie Rouse is she's selling calendars like 2023. God, it's terrifying to say that we're in
2023.
There we go.
My God, Katie Rouse calendars 2023. Well, I'll have one.
They'll get all the money's going to charity, which is the main thing, and that's going to go through.
Well, let's see what we're going to do. Is that going through Global Moto as well?
So that's currently getting set up. It hasn't set up yet, but it's going to a charity through them. And the fact that like all the calendars and the family are just putting all, like, as you can imagine, they're putting everything back into the charity. And Chrissy was very, he was a very charity-driven lad. He really was. And also, speaking on that note, Edge Clothing, which is like the official like Chrissy Rouse clothing, so they're not making any profit on that. All that money goes back to the family, and then it gets distributed off to the charities at that point. So, and we've got Quick Shifter on board for the coffees. They were delicious. What did you make of the you had a tea, actually? I'm going to
I did have a tea because I didn't know there was Quick Shifter coffee, did I?
Well, you can take one of them home.
Because I'm a massive coffee fan. I'm been to Cup. I've got a machine.
You've got time.
It's the only. No, I just like good coffee. I can't drink shit coffee.
Well, we'll have to definitely give you one of them on the way home, which is fantastic.
I'll come back and say that was great.
No, good. That's what people ask, for an honest opinion, and that, like, get it done, man, get it done. Lovely. But honestly, there's that many people, as always with these shows. There's that many people to thank, and the patrons, everyone, Josh, and mainly tonight, Cy King. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolute pleasure, lads. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been lovely to be here. It's been absolutely fantastic.
And Karen is absolutely, like, she had to hide all the books. I'm grassing her up. She had to hide all the cookbooks and everything, so she didn't look over the top. But honestly, you've thank you so much, man.
Not at all.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Not at all. You're very, very, very welcome.
There we go. And on that one, we'll call that a show. Thank you very much, guys. We'll catch you later on.
Chasin the Racin. Powered by Colchester Kawasaki. Part of the Global Moto Group, we supply new Aprilia, Moto Guzzi, Vespa, Royal Enfield, Kawasaki, Sim, Mutt and Benelli motorcycles.